This is my channel update for December 2013. Normally what I would do with these updates is talk quite a bit about what I've done or what went on in the last month, and then talk about what I've got coming up in the next month. But what I want to do first, before I talk about last month, is talk about an event that I've got coming up about a week from today, this month. Something completely new for me. I'm going to be using a Google Hangout on air to do something that could turn into a regular feature of this channel. Namely, I'm going to have a hangout where I'll carry on some discussion or do some Q&A with some of my viewers or Google Plus followers. So in order to access that, you'll need a Google Plus account, which I think you can't really sign up for YouTube anymore without getting one of those. And I will be posting information about this on my Google Plus, on YouTube, also on my Facebook page, and on Twitter, and I'll also put stuff on LinkedIn and academia.edu. So what I'm going to do for the first topic, I thought I wanted to start out with something that I know pretty well and have thought quite a bit about. So we're going to focus it on Socrates, questions or issues or comments that people have related to this great thinker Socrates, who spawns Plato. So we could talk about the Socratic question. We could talk about the sort of influence that he had not only on Plato but on other thinkers like Antisthenes, the founder of the Cynics. Later on, seen as an important figure for the Stoics, the Cyrenaic school, through Aristippus. So those are all things that we could talk about. It'll be fairly open-ended, and what I will do beforehand is actually solicit a set of questions so that if it's a slow start, I've got some material to get going with. And it will be recorded and turned into another YouTube video. So this is very experimental. It might be a complete flop. It might turn out to be something great that I want to do more of. But we're going to give that a shot. So that is going to be Saturday, the 14th of December, 2013. And we'll put some information about the exact dates, times, and how to get involved with that, or how to at least view it while it's going on a little bit later this week. So, November was a very busy month for me. I didn't get quite as many videos in some areas as I wanted to get done, in particular the existentialist videos, but I did get a lot of other things accomplished. I did an Insight Radio guest appearance on Patrick McCarty's show, and we started out talking about my work on Aristotle and anger. I'm writing a book on the topic right now, sort of bringing together Aristotle's theory of anger from a number of different texts. And then it meandered off into a lot of different discussions, particularly about education and about virtue ethics and moral education and what's going on with that. I also did a talk on the 7 deadly sins and how they started out originally as the 8 capital vices, discussed by the Desert Fathers, people like Evagrius Ponticus, and then coming through John Cassian. And how did we go from 8 to 7? And where did envy get in the lot when it wasn't originally there? And what happened to sadness and Acadia and how did pride and vainglory get condensed into one as well? So there's an interesting story there. I did a talk about that. You can see that. I'll put a link to it right about here in this talk. My classes have been wrapping up at Marist College, and so this is the month when students begin to panic because they see what they've left undone and what they haven't quite mastered that they would have liked to, and a lot of things are coming due, not just in my classes, but especially in their other classes. And these kids take 5 to 6 classes per semester. So, and I think a lot of the professors kind of backload the grading and the work. I try to sort of front load it so that they get a lot of things done earlier in the semester and they're not so stressed out by the end. But I'm dealing with students who are busily accomplishing what they need to accomplish and trying to bring everything to a close. My biggest interest is in seeing that these students will finish the class and then 5 years down the line still retain something from the class. So I've been doing a lot of stressing, how these discussions that we're having actually apply to their life. And it's fairly easy to do with the ethics class, and I think also the intro class, because I focused it on friendship, desire, and love. So I've been involved in quite a few interesting projects that are gradually taking shape. There's a number of different online platforms that are set to do important beta testing or releases to the general public fairly soon, and I'm getting solicited by people who want to bring me in to do content for them, to produce classes, or at least portions of classes for them, mainly because I think of the YouTube video stuff, because people are now coming up to me at conferences and saying, you're that guy on the YouTube videos. I knew you from somewhere. So we're talking, and when I say we, I mean my wife and I, who are Reason.io, our consulting and content production company. We're engaged in talks with a number of different people about the things that they want to do with their online platforms and how we would fit in with that. Haven't started producing any content for that, but that's going to start happening this month with at least one of them. So, what else? Videos. I shot 10 core concept videos this month. Some of them having to do with Kant, some of them having to do with Aristotle, some of them having to do with the ethics of care, primarily Rosemary Tong. I think I might have done some John Stuart Mill ones, but that might have been last month. I did get one existentialist video finally done on Leo Shestov, and I'm still shooting some more on him. I started doing a new series of videos, and I call these Philosophy-Geek, which is a term my wife actually made up, but it applies to us very well. We're both very, very geeky about learning and about the humanities and about philosophy in particular. And, I'm involved, this is a prime example through YouTube, connecting up with a lot of people and sort of spilling content out into the world. And I call that the Technosphere. And, you could call it all sorts of other things if you wanted to as well. It doesn't just include the internet, but all of our engagement with the internet. And, it's affecting the way we do education. It's affecting the way we do business. And I've been getting more and more involved with it because of doing these videos and because of doing online classes and generating content. So I've been thinking a lot about the transformations that are taking place in our world and in the ways in which we do business and teach ethics and communicate with each other about family matters. It's everything across the board. The Technosphere has become part of our skeletons and organs, so to speak. We move in it, and it ties in with us in a lot of different ways, which in some cases can be a little bit troubling. Finding out what the NSA can easily call up about us, or how much of our data is being mined for commercial uses. But it's here to stay, I think, unless the economy completely shrivels up, or we run out of fossil fuels and aren't able to find some recourse, or some massive electromagnetic pulse fries everything. Unless that happens, we are living a life that's in this radically new world, which is not something completely different from what's gone on before. I don't buy this thing that digital natives are a new species or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I think the digital natives are not very good with technology in comparison to Generation X, who had to learn how to adapt themselves to it. That's a whole different conversation. In any case, I'm shooting these new videos, Philosophy Geek Reflections on the Technosphere, and I got started because Google made some boneheaded changes that affected YouTube, and I started thinking, I do a lot of thinking and talking with other people about technology and education and communication and what's going on. So I should start shooting videos on that. I should start actually engaging in that in a more thematic, systematic fashion. So I've been doing that. I also shot 7 course videos, and those are going to be the last course videos from my face-to-face classes that I shoot for a while, I think. Right now, there aren't going to be any course videos over the holiday break, but I'm even thinking that next semester I might not shoot those. I'm teaching different classes next semester, and I'm not sure that they're going to be that well suited to video recording. Well, I'll think about it. Got a little bit of writing done this month on Aristotle, on the Anger book. I also did something fairly dramatic. I put all my blogs on hold because I realized I just wasn't finding the time to actually get to blogging. So I always felt guilty about that at the end of each week, and I took the suggestion that my wife had of actually biting the bullet and putting a message saying, look, I just don't have the time for that sort of stuff. I'm doing a lot of stuff with video production and online teaching, so this is going to have to go on hold for a while. That's freeing me up to do not only more video content stuff, but to get back to some of the academic writing that I want to do, writing papers for conferences, writing new articles, taking old conference papers and previously submitted papers and turning them into articles, and working on the book projects that I have that I really want to make some progress on. So that's all November. What about what's going on in December? I've got a few events coming up. The YouTube event with the Hangout on Air is one. That'll be, again, Saturday the 14th. And if that goes well, then I'll think about doing some more of those. I've got another Theology Matters radio interview with Devin Pellew, and that one is going to be talking about David Hume. So I think it's going to center primarily on Hume's Dialogues on Natural Religion, which I've taught before, and you can see some videos that I've shot from those class sessions. And Hume was a very sophisticated opponent of classical theism, particularly of Christianity, because he was in a Christian nation. And his arguments are used still by quite a few people. And I like Hume, but I think he's wrong on a lot of counts. And so we're going to talk a bit about how people use Hume and what's going on in his works, and where he seems to be on the right track and where he's sort of made some rather arbitrary commitments of his own. So, got that coming up. I am teaching a class starting in mid-December, a 4-week intensive online class for Marist College in ethics. I've done that before. It's tough to do over the winter break. Requires about a good, besides the content production, which thankfully I can recycle some of the stuff from previous classes. The grading and the forums take me a good several hours each day to stay on top of. And the students are, it's a lot of work for them. But it's a 4-week class, so it's got to be in that format. I actually use the videos that I've shot in previous classes so that my students aren't just reading texts and engaging with each other through forums, but also have a sense of what it's like to be in a classroom and hear lectures on that sort of stuff. So I've got that going on. I'm prepping for my 2 classes in the spring, one of which is my ethics class. I'm thinking right now, I haven't decided, thinking about doing what's called flipping the classroom with that, which is having them do the reading and watch lecture videos before coming to class, and then spending the class time doing some very intensive hands-on exercises and engaging in discussions about how we would apply these concepts. But I'm not not 100% committed to that yet. The other class that I'm teaching is Religion and American Culture, and I'm debating about whether I want to videotape that or not. It's a class that I used to teach quite often back in one of my former positions. And it could be good to do. It's, religious studies are really kind of a weird mix of history and, focus on religion. You're studying people's theology, but you're not studying it from any particular faith commitment. So generally you're studying somebody else's religious views. That's what I tell my students. Some philosophy inevitably comes in there, some sociology, some art, some music. It's a weird kind of mix, and I'm not sure if it's going to transition well in terms of lecture to videos. But I'll think about that. I can tell you this, that as far as videos go in December, now that I'm not in the classroom and I'm just teaching online, that frees me up for doing a bit more video work. So the existentialism series, I want to get some steam behind me now and get some forward momentum on that. So I'm going to do a few more Shestov videos. I'm finishing up with some of his early work. I'm doing penultimate words and his discussion of the theory of knowledge this week. After that, I'm going to turn to Heidegger. There's a couple essays by Heidegger that I really want to get to in this Krell version. One of them is the letter on humanism, where he's responding to Sartre's discussion, where he kind of used Heidegger, and Heidegger is saying, I'm not really in as much agreement with you as you think. The other one that I really want to talk about is the question concerning technology. That's a great essay, and I think is really central to understanding Heidegger's work. And then if I have time, I'm planning on getting to Kierkegaard's Sickness Unto Death. This month I'm going to try to get a lot of other video work done as well. I need to do some core concept videos to wrap up the discussions about Aristotelian virtues. So that's probably going to be about another 5 or 6, maybe 7 core concept videos, because I haven't done that many of those. And I'm doing that primarily for my online students. They can use these to help them understand the material that they're grappling with in the ethics class. If I have the time, I'm going to do some more on John Stuart Mill as well. I managed to get a few done this semester, but I need to do some additional ones on his work, Utilitarianism. I've still got that Aristotle categories video hanging out there. I did books 1 through 4, and I'm thinking that it'll be about another 3 or 4 videos to get through the totality of the categories. So I want to do that this month, because that's a very important text that a lot of students struggle with, particularly because they get assigned that text when probably they shouldn't. It's not really an introductory text, but a lot of people treat it as that for studying Aristotle's philosophy. So I'm going to try to get that finished. If I have the time, I'll shoot a few more personal videos. Probably, some of those philosophical development ones about phases I've gone through, or philosophers who I particularly like. I'm going to keep doing these Philosopher-Geek reflections, and I have a few other things I want to do in terms of philosophy and current events. I did that one on the Kant-related shooting a while back. There's a few other things in the news these days that I think are connected, with philosophy to some degree, or philosophy can illuminate, so I'm going to do some videos on those. And what else have I got going on? I'm going to be finally putting together some curious lessons. I'm going to start with Plato's Apology, and that's probably going to be several different lessons. I've got some previous ones on Sartre up on Curious, but I haven't done that much with that, and I would have liked to this fall, but I just didn't find the time. And I'm going to be putting a lot more stuff on Learnist. There's a few other things with my online presence that I want to tidy up here and there with posting some things in academia.edu or on LinkedIn. And I want to get some writing done this month. That might be kind of a tall order, but I want to get some more writing done on Aristotle and anger. The only way to get a book written is to actually keep plowing away at it. I've got a few other sketches for book projects that I want to put some flesh on and think about, maybe some shorter term projects along those lines. And I'm going to start working on a paper on Descartes and Descartes' views on ethics, which is something that isn't talked about an awful lot. Most people talk about Descartes in terms of epistemology or metaphysics, and teaching the Princess Elizabeth correspondence and the Passions of the Soul this semester made me think an awful lot about Descartes' views on ethics and the good life. And so I want to do a paper. I have a conference in mind already that I'll be submitting that one to. And what else am I doing? I've got, this is a good time for me to get some reading done as well. And the two main things, besides, like the Heidegger and Kierkegaard that I'm rereading, I'm reading something new. Somebody sent me, a colleague sent me some Latin works by this guy, Charles de Beauvais, who's a Renaissance philosopher. And I'm reading a book of his called the Liber de Nihilo, the book, literally the book on nothing, or the book about nothing. And it's some really interesting metaphysics. And I've got a fascination with this question of negativity and nothingness, and what exactly is it? What is privation? What is negation? Those sorts of things. And eventually down the line, I want to write a book on it. So reading this guy, Charles de Beauvais, should be very interesting. It's some slow reading because it is in Latin, and the punctuation has not been modernized, and so it takes me a little bit of time to figure out exactly how to deconstruct and then reconstruct the sentences. And I'm also, other than things I'm reading for pleasure, like reading Philip K. Dick stories or Yves Lenoir or things like that, which really I shouldn't spend as much time on as I do. My other big commitment is to try to, this month, reread my way through the whole of Hegel's Phenomenology. In part because not this coming month, but come January, I want to start doing a series of video lectures through YouTube, specifically on Hegel's Phenomenology. And it might take quite a few, because what I'm planning on doing is just shooting with me and the chalkboard and Hegel's book, and going through each of the developments that he's charting out, and taking as long as is actually needed to focus in and go through all of that. So it's kind of a big task. What I'm doing this month is just the preparatory rereading for it. I read Hegel every so often anyway, but I haven't sat down and gone through the whole thing, which really you ought to do once in a while with Hegel. I haven't done that for a while, so that'll be kind of fun, I think. Kind of frustrating in parts as well, where he's quite opaque, but it's rewarding to work your way through this stuff. So that is what is going on this month. That's what I've been up to last month. Once again, let me put in a plug about the Hangout on air, where I'll be talking with viewers and followers about Socrates and answering questions and engaging in discussion, and we'll see how that goes.